The thing is, everybody wants to be approved when they apply for the $50,000 Navy Fed personal loan, right? But in today's conversation, I really want to share with you 7 proven hacks to apply immediately when your internal score is below 250. So here we are speaking about a very specific case. When your internal score, your Navy Fed internal score is below 250, there are certain things you want to do that could help you get approved for the $50,000 Navy Fed personal loan. Don't you go anywhere. You're going to love today's conversation. I guarantee it. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you were to ask me. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee, or tea, or vodka, and let's roll. In today's conversation, we want to address a very important question. How do you apply and get approved for the $50,000 Navy Fed personal loan when your internal score is below 250? Obviously, the maximum you can get with internal score is 450, right? So when you are around 250, when you are below 250, that's really bad. So the thing here is that the first thing you want to do is that you want to think about your FICO score. See, there is a strong correlation between your Navy Fed internal score and your FICO score. However, simply because you have a Navy Fed internal score below 250 doesn't mean necessarily that your FICO score is also low. Because Navy Fed takes into account other criteria when establishing its internal credit score, internal score, than the FICO score. So the thing here is that you want to try to maintain a decent FICO score. The higher the better. I'm telling you, the funny thing is that people talk about, hey, I just got denied for a Navy Fed credit card, and they told me that my Navy Fed internal score is around 200. So instead of actually working hard to improve their FICO score, they're just sitting there like a lazy couch potato, being lethargic and not doing anything. What's up with that? What's up with that? I just want you to get off your ass and do something. Okay, simply because you have a low internal score doesn't mean that you are going to have a low FICO score. Do not believe it. I want your ass to start right now making sure that your FICO score is accurate. Okay, you want to verify your accounts, make sure that your accounts are current. You want to dispute any inaccuracies. I want you to contact Credit Karma. I want you to sign up with Credit Karma, NerdWallet, Wallet Hub to see if you can monitor your credit score continually. Okay, Navy Fed has a system whereby you can actually check your credit score. But my point is what? My point is you want to ascertain that your FICO score is indeed the accurate FICO score. What I'm trying to say is that simply because you have a 450 or a 550 or 600 FICO score doesn't mean it is true. Who knows? You probably have a few skeletons in your financial history that shouldn't be there in the first place. In other words, they were mistakes. Hey, boss. Hey. I want you right now to go check your FICO score, your credit report, and fix whatever inaccuracies are in the score, in the report rather. If you have collections, charges, judgments, and liens, you want to fix that. You want to improve your debt utilization ratio. Do whatever it takes to maintain a decent FICO score, even if your Navy Fed internal score is below 250. This will help you get approved for the $50,000 Navy Federal personal loan. The second thing you can do is to actually stabilize your cash flows. Son, what are your cash flows right now? Talk to me about that. I mean, do you even have cash inflows? Talk to me. Are you scraping by or you are comfortable? Because see, there is not a direct correlation. In other words, the fact that you have a very low Navy Fed internal score doesn't mean that your cash flows are negative. No. Okay. The whole thing is when you apply for a Navy Fed personal loan, you want to tell them that, your ass will be in a situation to repay the loan. It's all about demonstrating how you will pay back the loan. It's all about ascertaining the sources of income. It's all about making sure that you have positive liquidity. That's what we're talking about. There is a strong correlation between your loan approval odds and your ability to repay the loan. And that makes sense, because Navy Fed is going to give you some money and you can't even prove to them that you can pay them back. No. So you want to list all your sources of income. So when you apply at a branch, or you apply over the phone, or you apply online, which you should never do anyway. If you have a low internal score, you don't want to apply online. You want to bring your ass to the nearest Navy Fed branch with all the documentation, with all the paperwork, and sit with a rep, or call over the phone. You want to have a conversation over the phone. Okay, so when we talk about your cash flows, we are talking about making sure that you are listing in one column, for example, one Excel column, your revenue, your sources of income, and in the other column, your expenses. That's budgeting 101. Nothing complicated. Don't try to make things more complicated than they are. All I'm asking you is to determine your net cash flows. How much disposable income do you have every month? 1,000, 2,000? Talk to me about that. And the thing is, if you are in a relationship, if you have children, you want to think about the household budget, not just you, because nobody cares about you really. Because we care about you. I do care about you. I love you. Okay, I care for you. I really want you to succeed. But the thing, what I'm trying to say here is that when you have a household, you got to think at the household level. What are the expenses of the household? What are the revenue? Okay, and the thing is that at that point, we don't do a personal cash flow statement anymore. We do a household cash flow statement. Okay, and you want to constantly look for ways to improve your net cash flow. And so bottom line is, this is what you want to have if you want to be approved for the Navy Fed personal loan. Maximum loan amount $50,000. Let's talk about your relationship with the world's best credit union. Son, do you even have a relationship with them? You probably are a member. Yes, okay, you are a member. Okay, and so what? Everybody's a member. In other words, you have a checking account. You probably have a savings account. But if you sweet Jesus, have mercy. Hey, listen. If you are keeping $50,000, not 50,000. If you're keeping $50 in your account, do you really believe that Navy Fed is going to give you a $50,000 in loan? Come on. Use your brain. Use your brain. Use your brain. You need to have a conducive and mutually beneficial relationship with Navy Fed so that they can give you the cash you need. It has to be mutually beneficial. Mutually beneficial. In other words, you keep your you keep your cash with them, not too much cash, but whatever cash you have, and in return, Navy Fed is going to help you out. They'll take care of you. Most importantly, please, you want to set direct deposit into an NFCU account. All of y'all who are listening to me right now, if you don't have a direct deposit set with Navy Fed, I want your asses to go right now to the HR departments where you work and tell the HR department folks to actually include Navy Fed as an extra account when it comes to direct deposit. So every 2 weeks, every month, when you're getting paid, maybe 20% of your salary, of your net income is going to Navy Fed. 20%, 30%, 50%, 100%. I don't really care, but you want to have something coming in. So Navy Fed can see that you are really making money, that you are really chilling, financially speaking. Do you hear that? It's not, boy. The funny thing is, we talk about you got to establish a great Navy Fed NPR, a multi-product relationship. And folks think about, I have credit cards, I have loans, I have student loans, what have you. I have all those things with them. So I do have a relationship. Or even better, I know the branch manager in my area. He's a good guy. I've known him for 10 years. Hey, stop that. You are on the wrong path. When we talk about having a Navy Fed relationship, we're speaking about having not only a constellation of accounts, we're speaking about having checking, savings, money market accounts, certificate of deposits, IRAs, individual retirement accounts. But we are speaking not just about the diversity of accounts. I'm speaking about the money, the moolah, the kaching, the paper you are keeping in those accounts. So there is a difference between keeping $50 and $10,000 across all your accounts. So it's all about, when we talk about relationship, we are speaking about the amounts you're keeping and the consistency of your cash flows. Really, really important. Let's talk about your DTI and CUR. Again, there is a strong correlation between your Navy Fed internal score and your FICO score. That's for sure. However, we got to be in a situation where we are looking at those two criteria in a segregated way, in a separated way. In other words, though they are still distinct. Your FICO score is not your Navy Fed score. Okay, FICO score maximum 850, Navy Fed maximum 450. And don't you try to listen to folks telling you that the Navy Fed internal score is a one-time thing. You know, we have made this point really clear on other shows, but I'm just telling you here, you know, don't you let people just trying to confuse you, trying to waste your time with Disney stories. No. You want to pay attention to your DTI and CUR. And this is a question that came from Josh. So Josh, you are in Seattle right now. We love our Washington State viewers and listeners. God bless you. And we love your question. And your question really fits into what I'm going to talk about, which is, if you have a low Navy Fed internal score, you got to pay attention to your DTI and CUR. And it's important because when we talk about keeping your debt to income ratio low, this is really good because it's going to help you improve your chances of being approved for the $50,000 personal loan. What I'm trying to say here is that if you don't have capacity, quote unquote capacity, in other words, your DTI is too high, how are you going to repay Navy Fed when they give you the extra loan you are asking for? This is a quintessential question I want you to answer, because they're gonna ask you that question anyway when you apply. Whether you apply at a branch, over the phone, or online, doesn't matter. You are going to answer that question. So the whole thing is, when you have a high DTI, you want to avoid taking on more debt. So this is important for all our Seattle viewers and listeners, and all over the country, but for that matter, you really want to pay attention to those things. Also, lower your credit card utilization ratio. Okay, pay down your balance early. Decrease your spending. Pay off your credit card balances with a personal loan, not from Navy Fed, but from another institution. Okay, and you want to increase also your credit limit if you can do that. So everything you can do right now to reduce both your DTI and CUR will have a positive effect, will have a conducive effect on your ability to be approved for the Navy Fed personal loan. Another thing you can do, another hack you can actually apply right now, not yesterday, not tomorrow, right now. I'm speaking to you right now. You know, you're probably sitting there just listening to me, and I don't want you to be lethargic anymore. I don't want you to sit there and be sclerotic about the whole thing. I want you to take action. No sclerosis here. Okay, on this show, we want to empower you. I want your ass to be empowered to do things. This is the one time in your generation. This is the one time in this generation that you can take action. You can stand up and say, hey, listen, I want to have the best and the largest loan amount that I can get when I apply for a Navy Fed credit card, a Navy Fed loan, rather. So you want to familiarize yourself with the loan requirements. Even if your Navy Fed internal score is low, you want to acclimate yourself. You want to educate yourself with the requirements of the specific loan we were speaking about, the $50,000 Navy Fed personal loan. What are the requirements? And the thing is, you are not going to get the requirement. I mean, we have had shows about the topic, so I'm not going to waste too much time here on those. But you got to think about things like credit score and your credit history. Basically, if you have a minimum score of 600, it should be good to go. They think about your income. Sometimes they will allow you to get a loan if you're making at least $18,000. Okay, obviously you're not going to get the whole amount, the maximum loan amount, the $50,000 if you are making $18,000 a year. However, you have a foot in the door, and Navy Fed likes to have a DTI ratio of 30% or less if you want to apply for the loan. In some cases, they might ask you for collateral. So if you want to pledge a personal asset or a business asset, this could be good because this will boost your chances of being approved regardless of your Navy Fed internal score. Okay, it's because if you want to collateralize the loan, then everything revolves around the quality of the collateral. Everything revolves around the value of the collateral, because that's what's going to determine how much you could be approved for. Again, no matter your Navy Fed internal score. So bottom line is what? The bottom line is that you need to understand the requirements of the loan, and it's better to go to a branch. It's better to sit down with, I mean, you can watch our shows and whatnot, that's fine. But the bottom line is you want to get the source, you want to get the data from the source, because this data keeps changing all the time, okay? The Navy Fed, they have updates to their loan requirements, to their underwriting requirements, so it's just better to actually ask them. I'll be right back right after this, don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another section of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. We are still having a conversation about the Navy Fed personal loan. How do you get approved for the maximum loan amount if you have a low internal score? And you need to have the right paperwork. And this is important. And this is we have a viewer called Carrie Nathan. You are in Brooklyn. Love my BK people. You're in New York. So, shout out to all my BK family, all my friends and friends and relatives here. One thing I want to say here is that if you are asking for, you want to get the Navy Fed personal loan, you need to have the right documentation. This is important. And again, regardless of your Navy Fed internal score. So when we talk about, obviously you have the loan application itself. So there are questions on the loan application. So when you go to a branch, they'll hand you a loan application. I want you to go through the loan application thoroughly and answer all questions correctly and honestly. Don't you lie. Don't you ever lie on a loan application, ever. Okay, things like income. You want to put your income. You want to put your employment situation. You want to put your expenses. Okay, you want to put because your expenses will help Navy Fed determine your DTI. You want to put your address. Okay, you want to put the loan purpose. The use of loan proceeds. It's all about transparency. Okay, and they will ask you for proof of identity. So I'm speaking about everything from driver's license to passports to other state issued ID to certificate of deposit, certificate of citizenship. If you have a military ID, whatever you have that is government issued, that's kind of cool. At least that way they know that you are at least 18 years old. And then you're a U.S. citizen or a resident, okay? And they might also ask you to have a proof of address. So recent utility bill, a copy of your lease or other rental agreement, voter registration card or proof of home, rental or auto insurance that lists your address. So again, it's all about educating yourself. It's all about acquiring the knowledge you need to be approved. Again, regardless of your Navy Fed internal score. The last thing that Navy Fed pays attention to is basically you have to verify your employment. Navy Fed wants to make sure that, again, going back to what I said about your cash flows, going back to what I said about your ability to repay the loan that they will grant you. They want to make sure that you have a stable job history, that you are currently employed, or if you're not, that you are deriving income from other sources, that you have, other income sources. Because how are you going to pay them if you're not deriving anything? So when we speak about income, it could be anything. Okay, it could be a regular 9-to-5 income from a regular 9-to-5. It could be alimony payments. It could be spousal support. It could be government payments. It could be anything. It could be, quarterly quarterly dividends from, companies in which you own shares. So those are really important. And so Navy Fed always verifies your income and your employer. So they will do so through a lot of things, either by contacting your employer directly or your employers directly, and or they will just look at a series of documents, including your pay stubs, your tax returns. We're speaking about your 1040 for the 1040s for the last 3 years. They will look at your W-2s and 1099s. They will take a look at your bank statements, so they have a clear idea of your cash inflows and cash outflows. Okay, and the thing here is that you have to understand, in some cases they do both. In other words, they contact your employer, and also they look at your W-2s, and they look at all your financial documents. So it's really important that you want to verify your pay and employment for your, let's say, your last 3 to 4 employers, whether those occupations were full-time, part-time, temporary, or seasonal. And again, this has nothing to do with your Navy Fed internal score. So whether you have a low score or you have a high score, it doesn't really matter. It's all about verifying employment for the recent years. And again, the purpose here is to make sure that you are financially fit to be approved for the $50,000 loan, personal loan from Navy Fed. Very, very important. Thank you so much for your attention in today's conversation. I was just talking to you about Navy Federal personal loan, $50,000, and I gave you a few hacks you can implement today, not yesterday, not tomorrow, today, so that you can be approved for the $50,000 Navy Fed personal loan, even if your internal score is below 250. So we spoke about FICO. We spoke about cash flows. We spoke about your relationship with the NFCU. We spoke about your DTI and CUR. We spoke about the requirements of the loan itself. We spoke about the loan paperwork, and we spoke about your recent employment. Thank you so much. God bless you. I will see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.